Helena, you may begin.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Helena Xu, and I am one of the finalists for this year's GYC. Before I begin, I'd just like to take a moment to thank the panel of judges for their time, the GYC for organizing this wonderful opportunity, as well as congratulate each of the 16 finalists for their achievements. Now, on to my topic for the GYC. Today, I will be introducing my lens of working towards achieving world peace, which is through the use of literature and language. As a little warm-up, I have a question for the audience and judges, something for you to think about, to reflect on. I want you to recall your favorite novel or piece of text. I'm sure something has popped into mind for all of us. Now, thinking of this text, what do you feel? Why is it that you strongly like it? Was it controversial in any way? Have you had perhaps a discussion with your friend or family member on how you might have interpreted it differently? Well, all these questions that I have addressed are essentially a representation of the impact that literature and language can have on your own development and point of view of various topics. You see, no matter the type of text, whether it be a nonfiction novel or an autobiography, the power of language and literature is that you are able to understand and discover a whole new outlook or mindset on a concept that would otherwise be foreign land for you. When there are words on paper or even text on a screen, you are able to eliminate all personal judgment and biases, which then enables you to read and appreciate the text for what it is, that being the true takeaway that the writer wants to bring to light to you. As you can see, my interpretation of world peace is that the current barrier we face is instead of embracing our differences and supporting each other as one community, we let individualistic views fog our true goal. Ultimately, I believe that either consciously or subconsciously, humanity's actions are directed towards world peace and integrating into change that is beneficial for all of us. We just need to be able to recognize the hardships that we face and to be able to break down different identities and backgrounds, which is why I believe language and literature is a perfect starting point. Through words, we are able to convey our emotions and to change each other's perception on the world. Additionally, it is oftentimes through works of literature that new and even controversial ideas are brought to the table and personal obstacles are expressed. Using these works, our empathy and compassion is invoked, and society as a whole is then able to gain a better understanding of each other and to recognize our mistakes and how we can improve ourselves to aid those in need. With language and literature, we are also able to become more accepting citizens as while we read, we form connections and realize that we are not alone. As at the end of the day, we all work to cultivate a better life for ourselves and our loved ones. This is why I believe that literature and language is able to have a lasting effect on the person that we become, which then influences each individual's personality and point of view in order to work together and collaborate in the grand scheme, which of course is towards achieving world peace. Now, just before I finish up, I would like to leave you all with a parting thought. I challenge each and every one of you to read a piece of text. If you want something short, start with poetry. If you're a theater buff, there's a great selection of plays out there. The point is, I want you to read and reflect on the content. Think about how the writer has communicated with you, what new topics or concerns have been introduced, and how this work has ultimately influenced you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helena. That was wonderful. Now may I ask Ms. Kelly from Waterloo to ask you the first question, please.
Thank you. That was a very well-written essay, and you're very articulate. So thank you very much. I too agree that there is humanities play an important role in world peace. So thank you. I have a hypothetical question for you today. So let's say you're working for the UN in their peacekeeping initiative, and they came to you to ask how do they implement more literature and language into the hands and minds of youth across the world. How would you go about this?
Well, to start off, it is always useful and it's beneficial for youth to read new texts, as we're oftentimes kind of restricted to only the fantasies or fiction novels that we read on a daily basis and for our own enjoyment. And so I think that education and schools do have a part in, of course, kind of the reading groups that we have and the reading assignments that are introduced to us. But oftentimes students find that they just think of it as a homework assignment. They think of it as a task they must complete to get the best grades, something like that, right? And instead of changing that kind of mindset, instead of blocking off to only seeing as a point or a value system, we need to also open up to different types of literature, not only as the classics from our past and kind of the same Shakespeare we've read for already hundreds of years. We should introduce new works from current and modern writers as well, and not only kind of novels, but also introduce poetry and plays. That way we're able to introduce different perspectives, as well as how different pieces of text invoke kind of different emotions and have different meanings to each individual. And so I think if the UN were to approach me with that kind of question, I would start off with reevaluating our literature and language kind of system at the moment. So how each country kind of brings about their homework tasks and what novels or books or classics they are currently reading, perhaps implementing upgrades into that and advancements into different novels and more modern works. And then through that, we're then able to create and invoke more passionate discussions between each student and individual, which then fuels the thinking and the cultivation of new mindsets at the end.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Helena. So your second question will come from Colin from Brock.
It's amazing, so articulate, incredibly well spoken. So my question, you talked about how it's important for students to be reading more and absorbing different literatures from different cultures. But I'm guessing you have sort of maybe your top author or artist. So if you had one author or a poem, a poet that you think would really be a great leader for promoting world peace, who would that be?
Oh, that's a tough one. I have a lot of favorite works. Something that I would like to mention that has kind of influenced me and also was sort of an inspiration backbone to my essay was actually a playwright that I was introduced through school. It's Henrik Ibsen, and he has written a few plays, Ghosts and A Doll's House, that I've really enjoyed. And so it's not only kind of the play and I really like the content, but also kind of the messages that he brings forward. And also, because personally, I've never read a play before. That was the first play I've written. And it was through that I was able to be introduced into kind of historical mindsets and how the entire Norwegian society was kind of appalled, and it was a controversial topic of how Nora, the female character, was leaving her family and her home. And so I think it's through works like these that not necessarily, of course, the readers enjoy it, but also it gets them thinking and it kind of inspires them, and they realize that they're not alone. There's people that are just like them. They may be across the country, but they still have kind of the same goals and same motivations. And so I think if I had to be narrowed down something as I would recommend to others, I would recommend Henrik Ibsen, but also just kind of open your own eyes and to be more accepting of different genres and different themes. Don't just block yourself off into only romance novels or only fantasy novels. Be more inclusive and just try new things. At least give it a try.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Colin, for your question. Thank you, Helena, for that wonderfully articulate information that you share and your presentation.